I know, Phil. I'm on top of it. That was our chief security officer on the phone. The time has come. We can no longer ignore the elephant in the room.
What's up?
6 years ago, we installed open source code. In 2 weeks, it goes end of life. That means that the open source creator, they no longer support it. Our clients require that we use supported code. We have no money. We have no time. This could ruin us. We need solutions. Bob?
I mean, the only real option is to migrate, right?
That could take years. Right, Sally?
Yeah, it'll take 2 and, I don't know, like $5 million.
Bob?
She's not wrong. I mean, developer time, pausing the roadmap, I don't know, increased functionality that we wanted to push out, it's probably closer to $3 and $6 million.
If only we had more time. Elephant? What's never-ending support from Hero Devs?
Never-ending support from Hero Devs lets you keep using your open source software past its end of life and stay secure, compatible, and compliant without migrating.
Sally?
I mean, that sounds amazing.
Bob?
I didn't even know that was an option. I say yes.
That's the one.
Yes! Yes!
When it comes to security, never be afraid to talk about the elephant in the room. Get Hero Devs support today.
Yeah, that video brings back a lot of good memories. By the way, elephant, famous elephant, right there, sitting up there. If you want to meet him, come by the booth. But no, thank y'all. I won't give y'all a whole marketing spiel about what Hero Devs does. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We're the nursing home for your old tech, right? Like we keep it alive, we keep it going, secure, compliant. That's what we do. That's all we do. We're not an agency. We don't do web development, and so I want to make sure that everyone here knows that we came into the Drupal, verse, I would call it, to do this one thing for y'all. Hopefully it helps, and I think it's inspired other companies to also do the same, which is awesome, because we don't ever want anybody to be uncompliant. So if you're somebody else still on a D7 site, please come talk to us if you want to, if it's not feasible, if you're not going to get your migration done in time, if you're an agency and you'd like to offer this to your clients, the same kind of support that we give the biggest companies and governments in the world, please come talk to us, okay? Easy breezy. Now, that video, though, brings back a lot of stuff, and I think it was probably my most favorite day at work ever. And when I look back, I don't really think it was because I got 8 hours of sleep that night or because, I ate breakfast and I wasn't bloated or something like that. It was truly because I got to spend the whole day with people that I really enjoyed, that I loved, and we did something that we were extremely passionate about. And I've never written a line of code in Drupal. Sorry, Dries. And I'm not a developer, but the one thing I resonate the most with y'all is the community here. Everyone here is in it to push Drupal forward. That's amazing. Y'all come to these events to learn more about what's going on, but also to see your friends, to meet new friends, to really be involved in the community. It's very cool. And it's something that me being in a lot of different open source spaces and a lot of different communities in open source, I can say y'all are truly unique with how much y'all care about the project that y'all work on. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Drupal's going through its own evolution right now. I think it's really cool. It's really cool to see from the outside looking in. From a marketer, it's cool to see what they're doing. From our company standpoint, it's cool to see that they're, Starshot or CMS, whatever we're calling it, sorry, is doing amazing. And I'm excited for the future of Drupal. And with that comes a lot of different initiatives, and that's what this, keynote is about, this last keynote. So without further ado, without any more gilding the lily, right, I will introduce your Drupal initiative leads.
All right. Hello, everybody. We have a long program for today, so we should get started. This is the Drupal Initiative Leads keynote, and one thing that we haven't celebrated this week is Drupal 11's release. Yeah. So who of you contributed to Drupal 11 core? Show of hands. Okay, not many of you. So let's look at what we accomplished with Drupal 11. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So this is the video we created for Drupal 11's release, and there's a lot of cool stuff in there. So thanks everybody who contributed to things like under 6-minute test runs. I never thought that would be possible, run tests under 6 minutes, or the new navigation options, or stable workspaces. It's really cool. But the truth is, some of us work on Drupal core, but most of you are experts in building on Drupal core. So you do a lot of cool stuff on Drupal core. You take Drupal core and you put in like 20, 30, 70 modules. You configure them the right way. And then you build those amazing sites that we see in the breaks that really help the cause for all of those clients that wanted them to get done. So this is what you are the experts in. And so I think Drupal Starshot is not just great for the users because it helps them to build those sites faster, but it's also great for us here because finally you can contribute to something where you are the expert of, because you are the expert of building Starshot. And so to be able to contribute to Starshot, we figured that we need to have a way. So we defined Starshot tracks. There's more than 20 Starshot tracks to contribute, and there are things like events and accessibility and search engine optimization and media and search and all kinds of things that many of you are experts in. Some of you are better at search, some of you are better at events, some of you are better at accessibility. So what we would like to do with Starshot is to build that expertise into these repeatable recipes that Drupal 11 now has and make it available for more people so they can get started with Drupal much faster. And that's what Starshot tracks are about. And today we have these fantastic track leads here. So this session is kind of where we open the curtains and we can see that the Wizard of Oz are real people and they are amazing. And they are who make it possible to build all of that cool stuff in Starshot. So first of all is Christian, and he's going to talk about dashboards.
Thank you. So I'm Cristian Lopez. I'm Peñasquito on Drupal.org, and when I log into a Drupal site, this is usually the first thing I see. As you can see here, it's not very useful. I don't know where I have to go next, and I would love to have that. So some folks created an issue on the EDS queue for Drupal core to make some kind of dashboards. And this started in June. They had a proposal to make some kind of dashboards, so you had like a clear way of what's next. We met in Prague in DrupalCon and start talking about what would be a good fit for Drupal core, because at this time there was no Starshot yet. And in Drupal 7, we have dashboards, but it didn't really succeed. Like, it wasn't really adopted. And we think that the reason is because it wasn't easy to extend it from country modules or alike. But now we have layout builder in core. So we think it's really, and it uses regular blocks. So we think that it's a good way. Like, now it's even easier to expand it. And we think this could be a success. For me personally, I was really motivated because I didn't know the internals of Layout Builder. So I wanted to learn more about it, how it worked, how you could integrate with it. So we started talking about this new dashboard initiative, which initially was for core. There are already some solutions that you might be aware of, like the dashboards with Layout Builder module. But as I said, our idea was to be part of core at some point. So we wanted to have like a reduced feature set that later Contrib could expand to add stuff to it. When just shortly after Prague, I was laid off, which isn't great, but it was a great opportunity for having time for working on this. And I was sent alone. Like, there's a lot of people that have contributed to this. I would like a very short round of applause for everyone here. And one of the things that we spend a lot of time in is working with UX and strategists on defining what should be in each, for each role or each persona in Drupal standard profile. Then Starshot was announced, and to be honest, we felt a bit frustrated, at least me personally, because this changed how things come into core, or might change how things come into core. So my first reaction was like, maybe this doesn't make it anymore in core. But then, when we started looking at the wireframes and the work that was happening there in the installer, we found that it was actually a perfect fit for the installation. So when you install your Starshot, your Drupal CMS site, then you go to a dashboard where you can see what's next. So we were, again, motivated, and we started building on it. And one of the great things of Starshot is that or Drupal CMS is that it's built using recipes, and I didn't look at recipes yet, so this was another reason to be motivated about working on this, so I could learn about recipes. And I think that this is, if some agencies are scared about Starshot or anything, I think it really will provide a new way to work with Drupal. Like, you will have like an example of good practices of recipes. I became employed again, so thanks Lulabot, because aside of giving me a job, they also helping me, they are supporting me with some time for working on this. And recently we got the first wireframes for the dashboard. So when you install your site, you will see this. Like, you have some next steps, you have a preview of your content listings. You can add your new content. But one of the blocks that you have here is what's next, like a checklist of steps that I might want to do on my site. So how can I build that for the dashboard? Like, this is not something that the dashboard itself should do. So we were looking for a solution for this, and we found the checklist API model. So now our initiative is also helping on recreating checklist API, because it's built in, like, based in Drupal 7 standards. So we are working on creating a new architecture for it based on config entities and conditions and plugins. And this is how our new dashboard would look like. Most of it is real, like so this is something that you can test soon, and I'm really excited about how it looks like. But if you don't, you can help make it better. So come to the sprints, help us tomorrow, and we have ideas and tasks for everyone. So UX people can help, developers can help. And if you don't really want to work on this directly, this is using blocks. So if you maintain any content model that you think should provide something for a dashboard, it's the time for start thinking about which blocks your model could provide that could be useful for a dashboard. So this is how the dashboard got into Drupal CMS, but we still hope that we can make it into core. So that's our next, like our long-term goal. And we also hope that maybe we need to integrate with Experience Builder and such. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. Hope you are excited as I am.
Thank you. So this is how a core initiative gets new opportunities in Starshot and turns to be even better. So next up is Tony, and he's going to talk to us about media management.
Hi everyone, so I'm thrilled and excited to talk to you about the work that we've been doing so far on the media management track. I'll try and give a snapshot of the work that we've been doing, but there's been an awful lot happening. So the first question is, what do we mean by media? What's the definition? Well, I took a broader definition than what is core media to include other things like social media embeds and thinking about the different properties that different document types have. There are almost 700 contrib modules tagged with media. And I decided that we couldn't really separate the editor experience from what we render on the front end. So I decided everything from upload to render and all the config and code in between is in scope. To take the Starshot analogy, we can think of ourselves as it's a big universe of media. So we can think of ourselves as flying these missions. Each time we accomplish a mission, we come back with some new features and some more knowledge, and we go a little bit further than the last time. So why are we doing this? Well, if we take a step back from the code, media at its heart inspires people, connects with people, and we really want to show media in its best light. If you have fuzzy images, then that inspiration quickly turns to frustration. And in terms of performance reports, one thing that always comes out at the top as important is media rendering on page load speed. And good media also has benefits for accessibility and other things too. Right at the top of the list is reducing friction for users. So we want to make media as easy to use as possible so that people can realize their vision on the web page. So most of the work that we've done so far has been discovery, not building anything yet. One of the things that we did was circulated a survey, and what we found was that people's impression of media in Drupal is really good, but there's still more work to do. I played with lots of other content management systems. There were a lot of things that I didn't like, I'm quite happy to report. But they were all very easy to install and get up and running quickly with. So our trial experience is really going to be a game changer. And from those, I identified many, many opportunities for things that we can improve. Some of them are small, some of them are very big. Some of them we're not going to explore because they offer very little value to the group of people that Starshot is aimed at. So how do we take all those things and decide what action to take and what we're going to focus on? Well, keeping the group of people in mind that are in the Starshot strategy. So everything that we're doing is with them in mind and keeping their needs in focus. And a lot of work is going to go into images because almost every website is using images, and it's also the most feature-rich and complex of all the media systems in Drupal. So a lot of investment in time in images. One thing that the discovery kind of turned up was it highlighted that there are things that we find quite easy to do in Drupal if we're working with it every day, but for evaluators, there are things that can be quite confusing or difficult to use. A good example of that is instances and derivatives. So an example here where we want to use an image in different ways in different places. At the moment, that's not very easy to do in Drupal. And in other systems it is, so that's one area we want to do some work. One thing that I would love, it takes a lot of time and knowledge at the moment to configure responsive image styles to have performant media. So I would love if we could boil that down to a few settings and put that power in the hands of editors to do what they want with their images. And I think we can actually make a much better experience than some of the competitor CMSs. If the experience builder is going to eat the admin UI, then I think cropping and image manipulation is somewhere we can make great progress. So finally, what can we do in the next 4 months? By January 15th, I created a minimal MVP, I'm going to say that, proposal that is just the things that are for everybody, the most commonly used media types, with the goal to make those easy to use and really attractive on the front end. And then for everything else, we've got recipes. So some of the less popular features, an accessible carousel is something that lots of people would love to have, but it's not for everybody, it's a niche thing. So we can use recipes and let editors install all the other things that they want to use. So I just want to say a couple of thank yous. There's definitely not enough time to name everybody, but thank you to everybody who has given input so far into the media track, and thank you to Stella and everybody at Anatech for their support. I learn from those people every day, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you. I think this is a great example of how Starshot is taking a product-led approach of doing the research, figuring out the competitors, focusing it down, planning an MVP. So these are the things that we are not necessarily used to in Drupal core development. So it's great to have that research and then go into building something. So next up is Emma, and she's going to talk to us about UX.
All right, I'm Emma. I manage UX at Edinburgh University. I'm honoured to be part of the Starshot Advisory Council. We're an end user of Drupal. So I'm going to talk to you about the UX initiative for CMS that I've worked on. And it's not just me, right? There are many others. And Christina Chimias is the lead for this initiative. So a bit of background, Starshot was launched in May, as we know. The UX initiative kicked off shortly after that in June. We established our working group in July, and then when the product strategy was published in August, that's when our work began in earnest. So our working sessions began and our steering group was established. And from the get-go, the UX initiative was about realizing what's in the product strategy, the vision that is set out for CMS. And to do that really prompted a shift of mindset from the get-go. We needed to place marketers, the target audience for CMS, at the forefront, and this called for a UX approach. And what we did, we adopted principles from UX product design. This is a classic build, measure, learn cycle that we use to keep us on track. So initially, the build was our focus to get an MVP to go out to the target audience. And then after that, we will be measuring and then learning and to keep iterating and keep making it even better. And yeah, so this was a shift of mindset, and this was, as Gabor mentioned, a kind of new way of thinking. So really about thinking about these marketers that we wanted to put CMS in the hands of, we needed to get into their heads. So we needed to spend some time understanding them, understanding what they were looking for, their expectations, their needs, so we could resonate with that. So the first part of that was really breaking down the markets that Drupal has. We had a lot of data about this, so this is where we started, and identifying within those markets which were the target ones for CMS, which were the ones that CMS was really going to speak to and resonate with. And then another part of this was drawing on some user research data that we, again, already had from Acquia. We had some published personas. We had a lot of data, really rich source of data to help us understand how the target audience tick, what they were expecting, the organizations, the enterprises they represented. And we spent some time analyzing that data. And what we found in that, we took all this data together, and what we found was really important and helped us sharpen the focus for the MVP was really extracting the jobs to be done, or the tasks that these groups want to do, to achieve. And we found that republishing this and taking a bit of a step back and looking at those tasks more deeply, publishing those as archetypes was helpful to get towards the MVP. So we republished 3 archetypes: the marketer, a kind of multi-role builder or shared hats role, and then a content editor. And each of these was categorized by a kind of cluster of jobs to be done that they wanted from a CMS product. And this dovetailed with other work we were doing to get a real visual sense of how somebody would interact with Drupal CMS. So we spent some time mapping and doing user flows. We work in UX, right? This is what we do. We also spent a lot of time thinking about the onboarding experience, being mindful that this is their first visual of Drupal CMS and wanting to get that right. And on that, we did a visual style workshop. So we used the current Gen admin theme, and we wanted to plot CMS against that on a visual style spectra to understand how can we really showcase the best of Drupal for these first impressions for the target audience. How we speak and how the words we use and the tone we set with CMS was super important. To get us closer to that, we ran a voice and tone workshop and spent some time thinking, how do we want this to sound? How, again, first impressions being so important, the words and the tone were a key part of that. And all of this work kind of came together, the flows, the maps, the workshops, to inform 2 key pieces of the MVP that we refer to as the installer and the dashboard. And these enable people to perform those onboarding tasks, the essential ones, but also the exploratory ones to really showcase and give people a teaser of what they could expect from CMS. So as I said, the MVP is there. So our next stage, applying our cycle, is to measure, to gather some data from the target audience and to feed that back and to use those learnings to make the product even better. And we will keep doing this because this is a standard UX process. And yeah, where we are now, and I guess where we've always been, is aligning very closely with the Starshot meta issue. So analyzing the tracks and the child tracks in this issue, making sure that UX is supporting, and making sure all the really good stuff we're learning about the target audience is feeding into that, so we never lose sight of who CMS is for. On that, we've already started a piece of work doing some interviews with people from our target audience, reaching further than the community and getting an understanding of this kind of unfamiliar audience, I guess. And the information we're finding from that is helping us sort of refine how we're going to usability test, how we're going to continue to research CMS. Another piece of work, which has already been talked about by Tony, referred to, is getting an understanding of the competitor landscape, understanding the other products out there, and doing a kind of deeper dive and pulling out UX and UI patterns and the functionality they're offering so that we can make sure that Drupal CMS blows them out of the water, right? That's going to be easy. So we would love your help with the UX initiative. We're currently looking for volunteers. We have a lot of research data. We can never do too much analysis of that, so we're looking for help with that. Also with various areas of the usability testing to do this really well. We're looking for expertise in those areas too. And also, as I said, to help us begin the benchmarking work. So find us tomorrow at Contribution Day. Also later this afternoon, Christina and Sasha are running a BOF on the Gin admin theme, so please come and talk to them there if you're interested in helping us. You can also, of course, find us online. We have a Slack channel, so please visit the Slack channel, drop us a message, tell us what you're interested in, your area of expertise, or come along to one of our office hours. We've set these up on a Wednesday to cover different time zones, so there should be plenty of opportunity to get involved if you're interested. Thank you.
Thanks. As you can see, I think another magic of Starshot is how all of these different tracks come together and intertwine. Like the kind of UX input that goes into media and that goes into dashboard, and then how they fuel each other to get better. And so we are working a lot on the UX of Starshot. Dries said that AI is the new UI. So we are working on the UI a lot. We're also working on AI. So next up is Jamie, and he will get us behind the scenes with the AI track.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, so 2023, a friend of mine phones me up and tells me about ChatGPT. And this is how I felt. This was my response. And he tells me I can build an app. And he can do that before. So I go to my wife, and she can't program, and we give her an hour to see if she can do the same thing. She builds this app, it has a button, you press it, a hyena laughs. Doesn't change the world, but gradually she starts using it in her job, and I start going from being a Woody into a Buzz. I go into the Drupal community and we start working on it together. But there's just this mess of different initiatives, different models, people trying to do things, nothing's interoperable. It's very confusing. We've been in that world for a good year or so. There's like the views, and then Kevin phones us up and says he's working on the OpenAI module, and he says, why don't we get together? We'll make a proper AI module, and we'll bring all of the people doing things in public and put them into one place. And there's some pictures there of some of the people that had been working on AI for quite a while, for that good year beforehand. And now we have the AI module. So my name's Jamie, Yalcha Satanu on Drupal.org, co-founder of Freely Give, and co-maintainer of the AI module. And you can find it at project/AI. I'm on LinkedIn and in the #AI channel, and I'm also a track lead. At the heart of the AI module is the abstraction layer. And this allows you to pick a variety of different models, and then everything that you build on top of it will work with all of them. There's different kinds of providers. The standard ones like OpenAI. There's the body of ones like AWS Bedrock that will allow you to use a lot of different models in one place. Or you can have sovereign AI and host it yourself. The first thing we started showing everyone was this tool about agents. You can watch the web form video there. And what we had here was a picture, and we drew it along, we put it into AI, and it generated a real working web form, which helped us with configuration, helped you get started. And what you can see behind that was agents. And agents, you can see, has become a big focal point in what AI looks like in Starshot. There's a lot of approaches to AI, but agents are things that have a little bit of autonomy. They can decide how they approach to solving a problem, compared to chaining, automators, prompts beforehand. To help visualize it, Marcus built this UI for managing agents where you would add an epic. It felt like a mini Kanban. And you can see the project manager agent at the beginning takes that image and the prompt and figures out how to do it and assigns it to different agents. One of them can look at the image and describe a web form. The other has the power to actually implement it. There's a number of different agents that we are working on in the Starshot initiative. So you can see the web form one, creating views, the field type, taxonomy. This is their description, and when you go into Starshot, there will be a page where you can look at those agents, configure them, and slightly prompt them. And one way of interacting with them is this chatbot, where you can tell it what to do, and then it will do things. But there are other things that we could add. So AI search is an example. Here's something where we use AI search to look for products, and we say what products are ethically produced. And you can see with normal search, we'd get the product that says the word is ethical. But there's another one that says we pay our wages, our workers a fair wage. And it could find that. Now, behind it, in 2023, this was the coolest thing to talk about. Every AI talk was about RAG. I'm not going to go into detail about this. There's loads of talks about how the RAG works, how it splits things into chunks, how it all connects together. But you can hear the terms retrieval, augmented generation, vector databases. But what we've got with AI search as a submodule in the AI module is it works with Search API and allows you to index your content into a vector database like you would do with what you're used to. We have an assistance configuration that's similar to the OpenAI assistance that allows you to configure how that works. And finally, a chatbot that's pluggable. We have a whole bunch of different front ends. And other things we could do is content editing tools. We're focusing on config and changing it, and we think that's going to be special, but they are there in the AI module. Things that work with generating, changing the tone or translating in CK Editor. One thing that's powerful about it is in the taxonomy, you can actually tell a description of it and make it so that when it changes tone, it has a bit more instructions of how to do it. Now, why do we believe AI can be safe? Or why do we believe cars are safe? I think it's these two things, accountability and tests. Cars are quite dangerous, but what we do is we hold people accountable when they drive badly, and we test people and the cars beforehand. And I think this is why Drupal will become very powerful at doing AI in a safe way. Human-centric AI works with human-centric Drupal. Everything in Drupal, a human, an end user can do themselves. Like with this Generate AI, we can type it ourselves, and then we can check what AI has done before it goes out. And this will be a powerful tool in making AI safe. But also, another way we can keep AI accountable is by testing it. Here's an example of an evaluation we did where we compared a human processing some claims to the AI doing it. And we could work on this, making the percentage increase better and better and better. And I believe this will be a very powerful thing in the Drupal community to build these evaluations, share them, and show and prove that AI works. One thing, if you want to get involved, we are looking for increasing adoption. So if you have an AI module, Wooters_F on #AI, we're willing to talk to you, get you started, help you figure out how you can get it on top of the abstraction layer. The abstraction layer itself is very, very stable, we think. And the other things are a bit more experimental. But things that we probably need some help in, especially even funding our support, would be things like this, which you saw in the demo. We need a lot more work on the content migration to be a true migration system, to make it so that it becomes safer, that you can check things. We probably want to make it with a migrate module, and then the views. But then some other ideas, getting AI to help with the experience builder. Have something in Figma, click a button, and there you see it in Experience Builder. ECA agents, draw a process on a whiteboard, put it in, and suddenly it's there. Or even a project browser that creates recipes where you type in, I want to build this thing. It finds a module for you, configures it. So yeah, come along to AI Slack. We'd love to see your feedback, particularly like what you'd like to see. I'd like to know actually, how many people feel a little bit like a Woody right now? Okay, and how many people feel like Buzz and excited? Oh, okay, it's about half and half, and some of you look like you did hands up on both of them. So yeah. Thanks a lot. Give us a shout.
Thank you. So there's a lot going on here. I mean, heads are blown off. So next up is Gareth, and he will talk about accessibility and the work that's going on there.
So the first question I'm going to answer is why me and accessibility? This was me 20 years ago. I was an IT manager for a deafblind charity. I got to learn a lot about assistive technology, how people used it, and I also learned about accessibility off that. I managed their website, and through that, I got introduced to Drupal. Fast forward, I've got a much better desk and chair. I've got 15 years of Drupal agency experience. I worked for Zucha, who are here. They're sponsoring my time. and I'm a member of the Drupal accessibility team. That's my Drupal.org profile. So why should we include some accessibility tools in Drupal CMS? We spend a long time building this amazing product. Oftentimes, before we go live, we do accessibility audits to make sure that we're, ticking all the right boxes. But then we hand it over, and content editors take over. Often, when I'm talking about accessibility, I point people to this WebAIM project. They scan the top 1 million web homepages and check them for accessibility errors. And as you can see, 96% of them have accessibility guideline failures, which isn't great. Those failures generally fall into 6 categories. They've been the same for 5 years. The report was issued again this year, and they're the same. Much of them can be down to content, and if we can fix those, that's what I'm targeting with the accessibility tools track. 4 of those, as you can see, contrast, things like that, alt text, missing alt text, not just wrong alt text. This is automated tools are picking this up, so there's a lot more that could be wrong with those websites, but as the report says, if we can fix the automated stuff, things are going to get much, much better. So what have I been doing? The team have been doing a lot of stuff. We did a competitor analysis. Store Sharp product strategy highlighted these competitors. We looked at some others as well, just to see what they were doing. Surprisingly, Joomla came out very, very well. I'd written it off a long time ago when I did my what are we going to work with when I Drupal 1 way back. WordPress is good. The good thing, I think, is that Drupal competes brilliantly with these. We can do all this stuff in Drupal already. So we reached out to the accessibility community and we asked them, what are they doing? Let's gather some information about what best practices actually are. We got a lot of really good feedback. Some of the things, obviously, what tools were really important, and commonly things came back. Manual testing and user testing was across the board something everybody mentioned, but we did get a lot of tools like Wave and Lighthouse and all these other tools that look brilliant, and most of them have Drupal modules. So we went and we looked at all the modules that are on Drupal.org. There's nearly 260 modules with accessibility in their name, or they have accessibility tagged, or maybe even Ali. When I got rid of the empty repository ones and the ones that I think were tagged incorrectly, that reduced right down. And then I filtered them again into what kind of tools they actually are. So there's tools to help users, things like adjusting the contrast, improving font size, these kind of things. There's stuff that helps Drupal itself become more accessible, where it adds maybe Ali labels or ARIA labels, sorry, and if form errors, that kind of thing. But the stuff that I thought we needed to focus on was stuff that obviously helps content editors and marketers and the key people that Starshot or Drupal CMS is targeting. So I'm hoping to try and find a lot of tools that we can add. We've already created a recipe, and that's available in Project Browser. When you enable it, you get editorially a pop-up. I want to add an inline editor preview so that that'll show you errors as they happen. We need a new tool, I think, that grabs automated scans. There's a lot of great tools out there, and I really want that abstraction layer where this tool will be able to use any of the great third-party services and pull that information, bring it back in and create a content view to kind of give you an easy view of what needs to be looked at on your site. I want to get a dashboard view that can show editors their content, say this is stuff that you need to kind of focus on. So obviously that all needs to be created. The module list that I kind of looked at gave me a lot of ideas for other contribution ideas. So if anybody wants to get involved, this is, I've got a laundry list of stuff that doesn't need to be, it should be improved. These are all things that I was targeting as ideas to put into Starshot and needed a wee bit of improvement just to make it brilliant. A lot of the accessibility team helped me out with all of this stuff, so massive thanks to them. And if you want to get involved, we've got office hours once a month. The Drupal CMS Accessibility Tools track meet every Wednesday. Join us on Slack and you can find out when that is. But big massive thanks to everybody that has contributed so far, and everybody that will contribute. I say thank you now. We are a massive community and definitely greater than the sum of our parts. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think the upside of the 96% of sites broken accessibility is that with a little focus, we can make a big impact. So I think the task is ahead of us now. So next up is Christoph, and he will talk to us about search.
All right. Why is search important? Well, content-rich websites need search. If you have a lot of content, you just can't put this all into the menu anymore. You can't create these landing pages with call to actions, go to here to go there, check out our services, check out our products and so forth. So it's just not going to be good enough anymore. And in this case, you just need search. I put here for inspiration some of the searches we've built. And what you see right away, different content needs different search. Depending on what it is that you just want to make available, you need different filters, you need different inputs, you need different result displays, and there's so many things that you can build, and there are just so many options. And when you think about this, and I guess many of you here have built exciting and engaging search experiences, you also know there's very much that you can do wrong. There's very much that can be very hard to just build and create and get it right, yeah. And therefore, we need something in Drupal CMS that is just good and that's reliable. And that's exactly what the proposal for the advanced search track was all about. It was about we need a search that's better than core search, yeah. And the way it should be built, is that we should create a proposal, align this with all of you, the track leads, the leadership team, and so forth. And once it's confirmed, build it. And when I say we, then of course, not only talking about myself here or something like this, yeah. So I'm Christoph here on the left side, but I work closely together with Artem. He does a lot of stuff there. We are supported by Buddy and Paul, and we all from Onyx Internet, and our team works on this too. And all we do here is stuff that we built and that's proven and that we wanted to share and bring in as ideas. So the challenge that we want to solve is we need a search that works out of the box, that's easy to use, that's a solid foundation for customization, and that's generic. That's actually quite hard because Drupal CMS is in the making, yeah, so it needs to be generic enough so that it works with Drupal CMS and whatever you build on top of it, and it must follow best practices and standard procedures. The audience we are targeting is at one point, on the one hand, what Dries talked about in his Dries note, that we are targeting ambitious marketeers, no-code developers, meaning everything we do has to be configurable through UIs, yeah. But we didn't want to exclude ambitious developers too, because I think there's very many of you in here as well, and so therefore we needed a solution for this as well. So the idea we had is probably obvious to many, but is use Search API. Yeah, in the beginning, database as backend, because you need to get up running pretty quickly, and then add Search API autocomplete to it, and facets for limiting search results. But what about all this customization? So what we also were thinking about, if you want to build some of the stuff that you saw earlier in the demos, you just need to customize. You just need to build your own widgets, your own displays, your own functionality, your own ways of representing what you do. And for this, you just need some kind of integration or some ways that you can build this with JavaScript. And therefore, the idea we also have in our proposal is to include Search API decoupled, which is a module that we contributed last year, which simply abstracts everything you have in Search API on an API. And then you can just target everything, the full functionality with JavaScript widgets. You see that here in place. That's from last year's DrupalCon little demo, and that was a demo JavaScript library that we also contributed. All right, so we created this proposal, and we aligned it with the CMS track leads, you, and the leadership team of Drupal CMS and with the community, with you. And I want to share on the next slide the results from the community survey. So we interviewed, so almost 100 people participated, which was really great. More than 60 considered themselves as being Drupal experts with also long time experience, meaning more than 5 years. We didn't ask for longer, but there are some that have a lot more experience than that. More than 80% of those are developers. Yeah, so I think that's also what we have here today. And lots of them considered themselves as being decision makers. First question we asked, are we on the right track with Search API versus core search? And like, maybe it's a little bit small, the number here, but it's like, it's a big number, it's almost 90%. And 90% of you agreed with doing that. However, they said Search API has complexity to it. And when we asked about facet, if that should be included, where also everybody says yes, almost. You know, like people pointed out, like when you make Search API and facets, you just have some complexity. And also, there are just some use cases where this may be not even needed. Same for autocomplete, also very high agreement that this should be included by default. But if you've played with autocomplete and you've just built stuff with autocomplete, you know it can be quite difficult. If you suggest the wrong things, it can be misleading, so you just have to get that right. And yeah, the last question we are then also asked, there's one in between. We asked about the database backend. I mean, there's not much options what we have if you install out of the box. Yeah, but we just wanted to validate if like something more elaborate like Solar or Elastic should be there from the beginning. It shouldn't, yeah, but correctly, like when we asked like the community, like if you use database and you just have large amounts of content, of course it doesn't scale and it's not as performant as you want. Last question we asked is about this JavaScript stuff. So about should Search API decoupled be included as well? A little bit less agreement, 75%, a bit more agreed. And but like obstacles are, it's maybe not so much for our primary audience, which is totally true. And maybe such a recipe could also live elsewhere, maybe in some kind of a headless recipe. However, well, from concluding all of this, we are just currently building the following recipes: a Search API base recipe, and then separate recipes for autocomplete, and one for Search API views for display in a traditional way, then one to display in decoupled way, and facet recipe. And we in the making, we're going to deliver it like in this quarter. Here I put 2 links for you. If you want to read more details about the community survey, you find that on the left, and and so on the right side, you find the link to the meta issue. Yeah, if you want to follow up or get involved in what we're doing, so you find all the relevant information on the right side. That was it here. Last point is say thank you for everyone who participated. Lots of good input from you all. And that's really what's awesome about working here in Drupal community and working with open source, that you can do stuff like this. Thank you.
Thank you. So lots of work going on here. Finally, last but not least, Dries also talked about the new brand of Drupal and how that's applied on Drupal.org. And that's a very key thing for us, that we can also bring this to the world. So last but not least, Tiffany will talk about that.
So hi, I'm Tiffany Ferris. I'm the CEO at Palantir, where we've been using Drupal since 2006. And going way, way, way back, before I was chair of DrupalCon Chicago, before I even joined the board in 2009, my very first active contribution was to manage for the search partner to redesign Drupal.org in 2008. Here's what I learned. Redesigns at this scale are not easy. Getting D.0 to Drupal 7 in the first place took 3 years. And it got a little bit of a facelift in 2018, but we're still on Drupal 7. So we're not talking about a migration. We are talking about a full-on modernization. I think all of you who work know about this. So with the end of life for D7 lurking, the effort really and the pressure intensified over the last year, and there's been a lot of stuff that's already happened in parallel. So we've got the branding work, Promote Drupal initiative, the marketing working group, the Drupal.org team, and they've done lots of separate pieces, and hopefully they come together, but really, how does this actually get done? So my Palantir, we're really passionate about Drupal, but we work on it in teams professionally. We don't do it individually in our off hours. So if you think about the ways that we've contributed, whether it's Workbench or Rector or Edit Together, that's our MO. So what Starshot means to us is we can do this in a big team. So we had this opportunity where I had a team that had just come off of a really large modernization project, and I was able to put them on Drupal.org. So they doubled the capacity that the DA team had. And we quickly agreed that the theme was really where we needed to focus, plus a little bit of bonus content migration on the side. But Blue Cheese is the production theme for Drupal.org. It is one of the highest profile sites, Drupal sites in the world, and it's slow to work on for two reasons. One, the complexity, as you might imagine, but also there's just so much context you have to be able to work on it because it has to maintain stability at all costs. So our priority was to agree how we would work together in that way that allowed the DA to remain consulted and accountable for the work that we did, but we could not distract them from Project Browser and auto updates work. And we also needed to create an incremental strategy so that we could do both development and deployment. So we captured that in a 16-page working document, but here's pretty much what we decided to do. We figured out that we only had a couple months where we were going to do this, so we would break down the design files that came from Promote Drupal, we'd formalize them into Storybook design system that had it automated accessibility testing, and then we would componentize them for review and merge by the DA. So that's how the process all worked. But if we think about it, our goal was to deliver a really comprehensive maintainable component library to enable ongoing theme and design iteration, because it wasn't going to be done. So Storybook was our recommendation, and it, in the future, will allow the community to be more involved regardless of their coding ability. So we had just done a Storybook, so that's where we went. But so if you think about agile web modernization, you're looking at what your minimum valuable product will be. So one of the most important aspects is to maximize the work not done. So this kind of is our yes and approach. So we improve things that can't be replaced, we eliminate what we can, and we make sure that we modernize anything new we add is awesome. So to deprecate the heaps of Drupal 7 SaaS, we needed to be progressive about it. So just resolving technical debt doesn't actually get the Dries note to have the new brand in it. So we made the recommendation to the team, we assessed all the dependencies Blue Cheese had, and then figured out how we would upgrade those components. But as we upgraded the tooling, we also added a couple other things to make it easier for those who came in our wake to need less context. We have default content installed. I mentioned the automated accessibility testing, but we use an approach called the mother node. The mother node displays all the components, so as you're working on it, you can see it even before it's gotten built out. So challenges, the timeline, right? Barcelona was going to be at a certain time, so we knew what we had to do for that, and the designs just weren't ready. I mean, I think there were different layouts for different pages, so we were really working against it. Development always gets squeezed, am I right? I think we've all been in that situation before. So our approach was we were going to really be clear about what we were able to do in a very time-boxed commitment so that it was valuable at the end. And I think it was really important to be clear. We were never going to finish all the things. And so don't overpromise, but make sure that it's actually usable. And in the end, you saw it. So here's another example of how we focused. We were going to work on the base style components, so the header, the nav, the footer, and specifically the components that were necessary for the home page, the Starshot page, the download page, the product marketing page, and the Try Drupal page. There are more components, there are more pages to come, but site builders have what they need. So many wins, but I think the biggest win that we had out of the project was really to introduce this progressive approach. How can you actually do this without a huge big bang launch? Obviously eliminating CSS, Storybook, adding some testing to Drupal.org. Those are all really important things, but making it so that others could come in our wake is really important. So there's things that we didn't get to that we would love to get to, and spoiler alert, we're going to keep working on it a little bit. So we were upgrading it to Drupal 10 because of dependencies. We want this to be on Drupal 11. Like, wouldn't that be amazeballs if we were on Drupal 11? Obviously, there's more Storybook work to be done, and we would love to have implementation testing on it and integration testing. So how you can get involved, go to Promote Drupal channel. They have a weekly meeting on Thursdays. They work on the designs. There's still some migration tasks out there. There's some documentation in the D7 doc type. So just talk to Lenny, at the DA, please, 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 please. And certainly none of this work happened. We didn't do all of this work. And without Promote Drupal and Suzanne's contributions, the DA staff is incredible. You cannot overstate how amazing they are and how much they do for being small and mighty. So Fran and Neil and Tim and just everyone. And then thanks to the Palantir team for jumping in and being willing to do it. So thank you.
Thank you. So that was our last talk, and I would like to ask you to ask your questions on the mics. But first, I will ask the first question. So what's new about contributing to Starshot? What's the kind of value that you think your organization get out of it that would inspire others to be involved? You have your mics.
So I think it's a new way of working. We can make progress so much faster than we've ever been able to do before. And even today, listening to the other track leads, I'm getting some more ideas from things that they're doing. So there's like a volcano of activity, and it's really exciting to be a part of.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we have a history of individual contribution, but Starshot represents this opportunity. If you have a team that's used to working together, there are opportunities for you to drop right in, and you don't have to be hooked into the know. Lenny can hook you up, talk to the Drupal Association. We can find places for your whole team to work together to do the things that you do best.
Anybody else?
Of course, like recipes is a major game changer because it allows us to, contribute stuff that we've built. And to me, this is what Starshot or Drupal CMS is just really about, that it allows us to finally bring that in.
Yeah, you bring it to everybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you. All right, so my next question is, what were your biggest challenges, or your biggest challenge with getting here?
I think knowing what should go in, there's with a module, you can just throw stuff out there and try things out, see what works. Whereas with Starshot, there's a lot of potential things you could go for, and trying to hone it down to what's important is complicated with such a large team and lots of different opinions. So I think that's the thing that's been most interesting, is that process of, we built a lot of different versions of the demo, a lot of different ways of doing it, and to get to that place. So, yeah.
I think, from the UX side, there's a lot of research out there, similar to what you said, Jamie, just like honing in on what really is important, what's going to get you forward, what's going to be there for the MVP, and just not losing sight of that. And the more creativity that comes in it's fantastic, but it's trying to find like a space for each of it, because not everything can happen at once. There is a time and a place where it builds in. So I think that's been the challenge, and is the ongoing challenge, but it's what keeps it exciting. So it's also an opportunity.
Thank you. So not everything happens at once, but tomorrow, all the tracks that have their leads here will have tables at the contribution table. So you're welcome to join us. If you enjoyed this session, or if you didn't, your feedback is welcome on the feedback form, and see you around at the conference. Thank you.